Okay, so you're doing that. How do you meet the Suicide Boys? What's the story there?
Pretty much what happened was Fat Nick had told Puya about me. Like, he's a good kid. Like, he's a hard worker and shit. So Puya asked me to go on his tour, on the UU tour, to like sell merch, help sell merch. So I go on that tour and like we're selling merch and shit. I like helped his friend Migo Plug, my homie. And like me and him sold merch the whole tour. And like I was like a fast worker and I made them like a lot of money and shit. Towards the end of the year is whenever the boys announced Eternal Grey. I think they announced the Eternal Grey tour.
I think they did that the fall of 2016.
Yeah, and like Andrew Puya's big brother, was tour managing that tour. So like my everyday thing was I was hitting him up like, yo, try to put me on the tour. Like I want to, like, I'll sell merch, I'll do whatever. Like I just want to go on tour with y'all. And so like pretty much I hit him up every day to the point where like he hit them up and was like, yo, like I have this kid named Meth, like he was a fast worker and sells merch. So like, yeah, fuck it, like let's just add him to the tour. So they like pretty much like flew me and Krez out for the tour and shit, and I was just selling merch for them. And then like during that whole tour is like whenever I built a relationship with the boys.
So you were on the Internal Grey tour, and that was the one where the LA stop was at Club Nokia.
Yeah, with that Club Nokia.
So you've already been on one tour before that, the UU tour.
Yeah.
And now you're selling merch for the Suicide Boys.
Now I'm selling merch for the Suicide Boys. Pretty tight because they're just normal people, you know?
Yeah.
Like Scrim is like just like a crazy person, but he's fucking cool as shit. Like he helped me out with like producing and shit, and like he's fucking talented. And like he saw something in me like producing, so like that's why me and him make beats and together and shit. And overall, like me and him had conversations and shit about life and shit, and like we just chopped it up a lot. And he's honestly like a good person. Ruby is like just a fucking nerd, you know, just like a bunch of other people, like all of us normal people. Like he's like a movie nerd, and it's fucking fire because I like movies too, and like he likes the same music as me. So like pretty much I was just like yo, this is fire. Like this is like the group of friends I needed because like they know everything I know. And like they listen to all the music I listen to, and they fuck with the movies I fuck with. So it's like pretty weird, like we're like the same people type shit. Like just seeing like other cities with them, like all their like fans and shit, was just crazy to me. Like to see how dedicated they are and like how wild they get. That was like the craziest thing I could like see at that time.
Yeah.
Just selling merch and shit, like just seeing how like fans reacted to them. Let's see. I think it was after tour the next year, because I think that tour was in November. And it was next year in January, I had like gotten hidden up by Ruby, because Ruby, this was I think whenever X had gotten out of jail, I think.
Okay.
And then like I think he released like some music or some shit, and like Ruby had hit me up. He's like, yo, like he's like, we're thinking about dropping this song, what do you think about it? I was like, yo, this is fire, but like y'all need a banger, like y'all need something like a hard banger just to come out with, because I thought their only competition was really X.
Right.
Like in my opinion, I thought X was like their only competition. So like they needed like the hard tracks to come out with. And then like that phone call, Ruby ended up asking me like, yo, what are you doing? Like what you doing? And I'm like, not much, just in LA, hating my life really. And he's like, yo, you should come out to New Orleans with Germ, because we're recording Dirtiest Nasty Suicide. I was like, all right, fire, yeah. I was like, I don't really have that much bread. And he's like, oh, don't worry, we'll buy you a ticket and shit.
Wow.
So like, yeah, they're like fucking nice dudes, like humble as fuck. So they flew me and Germ out so they could work on the tape. And like I went to New Orleans. This is my first time. I think it was last year in January. Yeah, last year in January. And pretty much I went to like stay with Ruby at his crib for like a month. And like every night we'd go to like Scrim's house and they'd work on music and shit. And there was one night I'm like working on a beat and shit, and like Scrim like asked me like what I was doing. And like I showed him, he was like, yo, this shit's fire. And he's like, your drums suck ass, but like this is fire, like you know how to like do shit. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I've been working on it. And so like he like set me up with like a whole drum kit. He like took my hard drive and like gave me a shit ton of drum kits. And then like after that, I think I stayed like a couple more days with Scrim, and like me and him like made beats together and shit. And I went back to LA to like figure shit out, and I was like, what do I want to do? And then I remember getting a phone call from Scrim, and he didn't know I left like New Orleans. He's like, yo, where you at? I was like, oh, I'm in LA. He's like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, come back. I was like, all right. And he's like, I'm buying you a ticket right now. He's like, come back tomorrow. And so like I packed. He's like, dude, you're just gonna stay with us. I packed, went out to New Orleans, and then I was at Ruby's house for a while. Then I went to Scrims to work on beats with them. And there was like one day, cause like they had to get ready for like tour and shit. They had to like do Australia and like Hawaii and shit. And they actually had a festival coming up in New Orleans called Buku Fest.
Right.
And I was like hanging out with Scrim, and like we're like getting shit for his brother Slim Gucci, like some basketball shit. And like we're at the store, and like he like asks me, he's like, yo, he's like, you DJ, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, you down to DJ for us at Buku Fest? I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm fucking down. He's like, yeah. And he's like, so pretty much that like kind of made me like their official DJ. Like, they just gave me like that little show. And like I did Buku Fest with them, and then like I think after that, like Scrim and Ruby asked me like, yo, you want to just come on tour with us? I was like, fuck yeah, I'm not gonna say no.